Hello and welcome to our webcast of the new 2011 CPA exam. My name is Roger Philipp. A little background on myself. I went to college in Los Angeles. I then went to work at Deloitte Touche in downtown LA where I got my CPA certificate. I left there over 20 years ago, started teaching CPA review. I've helped over 80,000 students prepare and successfully complete the CPA exam, and I currently have the fastest growing course in the country. My goal today is to summarize all the new and exciting changes for the upcoming 2011 CPA exam. Now, as far as the CPA exam, a couple of issues on my agenda today, which is why are they making the changes? As far as why is the exam actually changing from the old format to the new? Also, some of the new content specification outlines called CSOs. And the CSOs, this talks about what they want to cover on the CPA exam. What they did is they and they said, what does an entry-level CPA need to know? What is an entry-level CPA? Someone in their first 2 years of practice. So they went out in the field and they said, let's take a poll from CPAs that have 2 to maybe 15 years of experience and see what it is the first and second year CPAs actually doing, and let's try to incorporate that into the actual exam. We're also going to talk about the new structure of the exam, how, for example, some of the areas are changing the number of multiple choice questions that are offered. Also, the way the structure is actually set up, that you can actually put your mouse over the number at the bottom and the actual question shows up so you can kind of see which ones you want to go back and review. Also, the new TBS called task-based simulations called Simlets. Instead of having 2 multiple-part simulations, we're going to have, for example, 6 or 7 that are maybe on 1 or 2 topics within each of those Simlets. Finally, how we at Roger CPA Review can help you to properly prepare for the CPA exam. Now, what are the reasons for the change? And again, this is all great information that I obtained on my trip to New York, meeting with the AICPA, which is an exciting group of people. Woo, woo, woo. They write the exam, administer the exam, grade the exam. So the first thing, the reasons. First of all, to ensure the skills on the exam mirror the industry skills. What that means, again, is they went out there and said, what is it the entry-level, first, second-year CPA needs to know in their everyday activities, so that way they can make sure, whether it's writing skills, whether it's research, whether it's just preparing spreadsheets, let's make sure that they understand it, but they also understand the concepts, which we can also test in a multiple-choice format. To facilitate faster score reporting. Now, faster score reporting, the way it is, and back in my day, when I was your age, when I took the exam, it was twice a year, every May and every November. So you took the exam in May. It took 3 months to get your results. If you got a little envelope, it was good. If you got a big envelope, darn, it was a reapplication. And then you had to take the exam 3 months later, so it was twice a year. Then what they did is change the exam and said, okay, we'll open it up not twice a year, but we'll open it up 8 months a year, which I'll talk about a little bit later, because months 3, 6, 9, and 12 are blackout months. There's no exam. The other 8 months, you can take 1, 2, 3, or 4 parts of the exam. So what they said is, currently, let's say you take the first quarter of the year, January, February, March. The third month is a blackout month, no exam. So in January, February, basically you could take 1, 2, 3, or 4 parts. Let's say you sit for the exam in January. Results come out, let's say, by the end of February. You take it in February. They try to get them out by the end of March, so that way if you didn't pass, you could sit again April 1st. So they're trying to facilitate faster score reporting to kind of turn that around. Improved exam security. Security, one of the new things, they fingerprint you when you go in to take the exam, but one of the other things too is they're considering going global. Let's go global. What does that mean? They want to offer the exam throughout the entire world because we want the whole world to want to be a US CPA. So, for example, they may test it in like Japan or the Middle East first to see how it goes, and then from there they'll springboard into other countries. So globalization. Finally, more efficient simulation development. Here's the problem. Currently, in 2010, all the parts, Audit, Fair, and Reg, not BEC, but Audit, Fair, and Reg each have 2 simulations, and each simulation has multiple tabs to it, maybe 6 or 7 tabs. And when they set that up, when they're trying to actually develop these simulations, if, for example, one of the tabs doesn't quite work properly or the question doesn't make sense, they have to toss the entire simulation. So what they're doing now is instead of having 2 multiple-part detailed simulations, you'll have 6 or 7 where each one is kind of on its own topic with maybe a couple of different questions on each. So that way it makes it a lot easier as far as the actual development of these simulation questions. Now let's talk a little bit about what the exam currently looks like. Now, you'll notice here on this slide that the exam is 14 hours in length. It's 14 hours in length. You'll also notice, for example, that you have 18 months once you pass the first part. So once you pass the first part, you have 18 months to pass the rest, and it's a rolling 18-month window. So I take a part and I pass it. Then you don't pass. 18 months goes by, you don't lose everything, you just lose the first part. So if I pass a part, don't pass, 18 months goes by, then in the olden days you lost everything, called having a leg on the exam. Now you just lose that first part. So you still have 18 months. So the 14-hour total isn't changing. The 18 months is not changing. What's changing is a little bit of the makeup as well as the content based on the new content specification outlines. So you'll notice here we've got auditing, for example. And with the audit exam, it is a 4.5-hour experience. Now, what does audit include? Planning the audit, internal control, substantive testing, IT, our favorite area, audit reports. We actually draft a report. What are audit reports? You're drafting the opinion. In my opinion, the statements referred to above presents fair than all material specs, financial position of X, so to what they're doing, the result of its operations, in conformity with U.S. GAAP. All right? So I had a lot of free time. So I memorized the audit report. That's the audit report. Now, as far as auditing, you'll see here it's 4.5 hours in 2010. I'll show you in a moment. It's going to go down to 4 hours. So we're taking 30 minutes away from auditing. For financial accounting, it's 4 hours. That will stay the same. With financial accounting, that is your intermediate 1, intermediate 2, advanced, government, nonprofit. So that's your bonds, pensions, leases, deferred taxes, our favorite consolidations, foreign currency translation or remeasurement. Governmental accounting, 8 to 12%. Nonprofit, 8 to 12%. So that is your financial accounting. Regulation is 3 hours. That's tax and law. Tax is about 60%. Law is about 40%. With tax, that's individual tax. Your 1040. Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, Schedule D, Schedule E, Schedule F. Your corporate tax, 1120. 1120 S corporations. Partnerships, 1065. 1031 like-kind property exchanges. That's tax. Business law and professional responsibilities, that deals with UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. It deals with areas like sales of goods contract, negotiable instruments, bankruptcy, federal security regulations, auditor liability. That is part of regulation. The time on reg is not changing. BEC currently is 2.5 hours, 100% multiple choice. It's going to change to 3 hours. So what they're doing is they're basically taking a half hour off of auditing and moving it down to BEC, as I'll show you in a moment. Now, what does BEC include? BEC includes economics, financial management, IT. All of these are different areas in BEC. Another favorite, cost accounting. Yeah, that's part of BEC, called business, environment, and concepts. That's the way the exam's currently set up.